Somebody needs to say something.
Cheese.
Yes, sir.
Our daughters. Some of them are young. Like this girl.
I think it's 10 great grandchildren. All the children are close by.
Great grandchildren.
I think she said 10 great grandchildren, didn't she?
Penny, I didn't get it.
Well, that's fine.
I think it's great.
I don't think so.
Great grandchildren. She's ahead of me. That is fine. Get together again, class of 35, and I want to welcome each one of you, classmates, our teacher, and guests. We're just so glad for each one of you to be here. Have just a good time and enjoy all of our time together. And before we have our meal, let's just have a moment of silent thanks because we can't hear very well with so many people. So let's just all have a moment of silence.
If you will meal here, you want the contacts that were made in getting ready for us to be here tonight. I made contact with, I think practically everybody in the class, members that are still with us. Julia Allen. Mary, have you had any contact with her recently?
None.
Well, I had word from Julia that she didn't think she could make it. And she told me why she thought she could. She said that they had, I believe it was 5 grandchildren and 10 great-grandchildren living close by. And any of you who are in the grandparent stage know what that can mean. All right, Ruth Campbell Halk, since we were here last time, that is 5 years ago, she has lost her husband, Oscar. And Ruth had a problem. She couldn't come. The last word she says, I hope you have a good time. And those of you who know Ruth know how that worked out. But she has a grandson coming up who's involved in a prom affair tomorrow night in Statesville. And he didn't want to drive all the way from Greensboro and that sort of thing. So Ruth is grandparenting. So that's why she isn't here. Mattie Mae said she would come if she could, but she didn't think she would, and she and Ruth had talked. Mattie Mae's been involved in some business affairs that have her tied down. Of course, we remember that Winnie Halk is deceased, and these rosebuds here are for the members of our class and faculty who have gone on, who are no longer with us. Winnie Halk had gone before our last meeting, Mary Dell Little, and I'm using our class names. Catherine Goswick is here. She can speak for herself in due course. And Louise McGuire, her husband Dan is having eye problems. And Louise said she didn't think they could make it. Louise lives in King, any of you are down that way. Georgia Mae Miller can speak for herself. Georgia Mae has, Dennis had died today. I'm going to let you introduce your husband right now. We're delighted to have you with us. And Tina Maloney. Yeah, she goes by the name of Eva Maloney when you want to be dignified. But she was Tina to us. Josephine Robinson, you remember, was gone before we met before. Mary Scott, can speak for herself. Mary has her daughter. You were with us last time. We're delighted to see you again.
And my sister.
And two sisters. Go ahead and
My sister Betty Hoskins from Bend, Oregon, and Ruth Rakes from recently Athens, Georgia. She moved there in February from Geneva, Illinois.
we are delighted.
Since then, my daughter's name is Taylor.
Oh,
She is now Kathy Waters.
oh.
She was Kathy Gardner.
Well, we're delighted that she's with us again.
You forgot that. Tell her last.
Whether it's Gardner or Waters. We're delighted. All right, Cecil Scott, Mrs. Henry Hathcock. Cecil, I had a card from her. She said she couldn't make it. She just wasn't up to it. That her health was not that good. She sent regards especially to Louise McGuire. And of course, Louise isn't here. Ruxford Campbell is here with the wife that he has had since 1944. So we're moving up on our 46th wedding anniversary. And she's done a right good job with me. She has had her hands full. Edison Lawrence has passed away since we were here last time. Paul Hopkins is here. Paul can speak for himself. He's right here. And his wife? Doris. All right. Banner Phillips. I was able to contact Banner, talk with him on the telephone. Banner said he couldn't make it. Banner complained of something that I heard a hint of a while ago from another source. He says his knees are giving him trouble, and getting up and down becomes a problem. So I'm not calling. I have the same problem. Every Trinity is here. Every can speak for himself. Yeah. And Doris is here too. His better half. Our teachers, Clyde Kelly, J. Clyde Kelly had passed away when we were here 5 years ago. John Donnelly has passed away since. How long ago? 2 years ago?
2 years, I guess.
Beth on Donnelly is in the file. I had this over in my room. I thought I was going to bring it, but he said, and I'm quoting almost verbatim what he said. He says, I got caught up in the spirit of the meeting and was carried away. And I know all of us appreciate that very much. Charity Vanoy Bar. I talked with her and expected her, but she indicated that she might not be able to make it, and I understand she's gone to the beach. And Ivan Miller Sr. I talked to him, and what a pleasure it was to be speaking. And Mrs. Miller. Ivan was our homeroom teacher. You remember? And I didn't ask him to bring it. I was afraid he might be tempted to do so, so I didn't ask him to bring the Vision of Judgment by George Gordon Lord Byron to read for us. That's one of the things I remember Ivan very well. It took you 2 class periods to do it. And before he would do it, of course we asked him to do it, just begged him to do it, to get out of class. But he made us promise we wouldn't tell it on him. Now you can speak for yourself.
Yeah. If you don't mind if I speak for a minute or two.
Yes, please, by all means.
Well, I want you to know that Edna and I, my dear wife from West Virginia, in your state, we certainly are honored and privileged to be invited. And these are such lovely people. I told a good many of them, and without exception, they're wonderful. Rexford, I always thought, I've told Edna a number of times, he's one of the finest men that I ever had in my class.
You didn't have
And he's ageless. And Mary Scott, I think she's better looking than she was in school.
Wow.
And these people look wonderful. Catherine, she was a wonderful student of mine, and it was a real pleasure. And Mrs. Howe, Georgia Miller, she looks like she's the same age she always has been. Since I knew her, she's never aged. And it's wonderful. But if you'll notice, Ladies and gentlemen, time passes faster than it used to. You remember, and things have changed so much since we were in school. 55 years ago, or 60 years ago, when I knew Rexford, we had one little strip of hard surface road from West Jefferson, 4 miles down below Jefferson. Howard Tucker and a bunch of the boys that had cars at that time, well, we'd get in their car and have a big ride, 4 miles down the road and 4 miles back. And at that time, it took about a third of a gallon of gas, and we used at that time about 6 or 7 cents worth of gas to go down into concrete and back. We didn't have much money, but we had a lot of fun. And we had a lot of fun in school. I always felt that I was just one of the kids myself, and I think I was the meanest one of them, really. But we enjoyed it, and it's wonderful to see y'all, and I'm so glad to see such good, healthy-looking people. It's been quite a while, but it's been wonderful, and I hope you've had a wonderful life. Oh, thank you.
Pictures that I took last year. I mean, 5 years ago.
Will you have them with you ever?
Yeah, but maybe it might be better to wait till after we eat. It might
Probably so.
make somebody stomach so much.
I didn't have any real good ones.
You want them now or later?
Let's do later. Let's do later.
Okay.
Is that all right?
That's fine.
I'm more interested in that than I am a lot of this serious stuff that we could get into. And then certainly we want to spend a moment or two in tribute to those who've gone from us. But I'd ask Ivan Miller, our professor, in just a few moments to share with us since. And whether you've thought about it or not, but Paul Hopkins over there is the only member of the class who still lives in Ashe County. George May lives here part of the time. She lives in Wilkes part of the time and Ashe part of the time. The rest of us have been scattered to the four winds. So I asked him if he would tell us some of the things that they talk about
Kid.
in Ashe. Or just
And you're on the camera and your voice.
It's terrible.
Don't talk about these people.
No. Yes.
Would you excuse me while thank you very much? I'm gonna go back out.
Sure will. We're so glad you
Glad
came.
to see you again. I remember you from when you were.
I know. Okay, bye-bye.
Glad you came.
Thank you.
I should have brought my tripod.
I wish you would.
These are snapshots from their last reunion that was held 5 years ago. Okay, turn the page. Anybody know these people? You can tell me. Somebody can give me a running.
Rexford's wife. I don't know these people. I don't know. Oh, this is George's son right here.
Okay, next page.
I don't know these people.
I'm going to get her to show me that man.
Okay, you can turn. I don't know if this. There's Georgie,
George
isn't it?
and her son. There's your mom.
You're looking at Alvin.
Here's that lady.
There's Fanny Mae.
Right here? Yeah, right. Who's that girl with her?
Don't know who that is.
This.
There yet.
We had made some pictures the next morning. I don't think you were there at the breakfast, and I'll give you a couple of them though, because everybody.
That's wonderful.
And here's one. Want you can cut.
This
Do you know any of those people?
This is Rexford Cattle right here.
Okay.
He's the only one I know.
Keep you permanent.
Rexford's want me to tell about that trial we had that time. I wouldn't tell him the last time.
We can keep those, honey. He's giving them to Edwards.
And I was
Give
spread
them
out
to
in
her.
front of our
Weren't we at
class.
this thing?
Yeah.
Alvin was. I don't know if you were here.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you were here or not.
Well, I'm always with you at these
Paul and I
things.
they were kind of narrow.
Maybe you slipped out on me.
And I snook out of
He told you he was going to the grocery store.
Right.
Well, there he is. Look at that.
Look at this.
I'll talk to her about it now.
When was this?
5 years
5 years
ago.
ago?
Where was I?
I don't know, honey. I don't know whether you were here. I thought you were here. I don't understand it. I don't believe you were here. I really don't.
I'll give you this one. I'll make you.
Some of us, Paul and Everett, and we were the only three here who transferred from out of Ball Mountain or to West Jefferson at the middle of the year. And I was there for a year or so, and then I was out of school for a year and left the in class of 35. But what are some of the things you remember that really you'd like to share with the group? Now, I've already teased our professor about reading the Vision of Judgment by Byron, but that's one of the things I remember that was good. I remember one or two trials that we had while we were in school, and I remember one of them. Paul, you were the, I think you had been indicted by somebody. I don't recall all of it because I was one of the lawyers.
I didn't serve any time.
You didn't serve any time, but I've forgotten who did what about it, but
I think it was Everett who was the culprit.
was it?
I remember he was the culprit.
Yeah, I was
Well, let's
one that was in the hot.
please review that one for just a few minutes. Maybe a different one I'm thinking about. We may have had at least a couple of them.
For skipping school. And Maddie Mae's house was testifying against him because she'd seen him. So they asked Maddie Mae, did you see Everett on this day that he skipped school? And she said, yes, I did. And they said, where did you see him? And she said, well, I was going along the road, and she said, I saw him out driving stakes in Ed Tribbett's father. And I remember the whole class broke up. And Maddie Mae was, she got his blood. Blood. Yeah, he was working out at that Father's Day.
Now, what I was doing, I was building the first golf course that ever existed in Nash County. Down in Entrance Bottom, and we just used crawdad poles, you know, putting up stakes for the green. But it didn't come up that great. I was sticking up, driving up stocks with Mr. Ed Tribbett's father.
Maddie Mae's reaction was one of the funny things about it, wasn't it? Well, the trial I remember, and I don't remember enough details of it. Paul, you were, I'm not sure whether you were being charged with something, but somebody was trying to hit you with a flat iron. And I've forgotten who it was, and I've forgotten the details.
I must have hit him.
Yeah, it must have.
That's great.
Another thing I remember, I don't know whether it was while this class was a unit or whether it was another time, but you remember that old building we had there in the, when Mr. Belcher was principal. Any of you remember that? Mr. Belcher being principal? And you remember the restroom facilities were on the outside, and we're out there where the driveway came around. One day, the boys' restroom, I'm going to use that euphemistic term for one that would be a lot more dramatic. Boys' restroom, there was smoke emanating from it, coming out of it. And the thing that had happened, some of the boys had brought sticks, brush, and one thing and another, doused it with gasoline and thrown a match in there. They burned the thing down. You know, the rest of you remember that?
No, I don't.
But that was before you came to be a part of us. And the student body gathered over there and watched the thing burn. Nobody offered any help to Mr. Belcher. And here he went to the laboratory. I don't think they had a kitchen. I think we did. But here he came, buried a pitcher full of water to throw on that burning fire. Oh, that old boy's job. Yeah.
Did you get?
Yeah.
Yes, I did, thank you.
I've got some more.
Well, just go tell us some of the things that are going on in Ashe County that might be of interest to us, those of us who are away. Can you do that for us?
Yeah.
Tell us the changes that you
You
are
know,
observing.
speaking of funny things, I was teaching in Stag Creek School about, well, I don't know when it was, so far back you wouldn't remember it. But anyway, I was teaching a class up there. I was a principal at little school. We had Frank James was an assistant of mine, somebody we had about, but I had a tough bunch of boys in my room, about as tough as you ever saw. But the only way I could handle those kids successfully is to put them out and at 12 o'clock just work them to death and ball. They all liked athletics and they were real good. We'd work them to death and then playing ball, and we'd come in immediately after lunch and I gave them a study period. So I had a daily paper, the mail carrier left me up there, and I'd read the paper while they were studying this paper. But there was a boy up there, he was just fresh off of the land. He was a young boy, about 12 years old, and he was just as raw as they come. He's a good fellow, but he was a raw, he just said everything like it was. But anyway, I was reading there in a big way, and I heard somebody, when they wanted to leave the room and snap their finger in, you'd look up and you'd say, yes, you may go, or if you thought they needed to. And this boy, he began to snap his fingers like that. Well, we had the outdoor toilet you're talking about, and you know, bathroom tissue was not known in that section at that time. Of course, my catalogs were, but anyway, I was sitting there reading the paper, and this boy insisted on snapping his fingers. And I realized something was wrong, and maybe he did need to leave the room. He wasn't wearing a thing but a pair of overalls, no shoes, no shirt. And I looked over and I said, all right, Carl, you know, I was reading the paper, and Carl walked up to me. He just puts his hand up on my paper. He pulled him a big piece of that paper off and teared off a piece of my newspaper, stuck it in his hip pocket, and walked out the door. Now, that's the truth. That's the truth. We were talking about the things that are happening in Ashe County. One of the unfortunate things of Ashe County, or any other county, of course, is that you don't have the things in the county to hold your people. You lose so many of them. Now, Rex just told me there's only 1 or 2 here living in Ashe County at this time. Well, you know that's a great loss for a county. But the reason they leave, we didn't have the things here that they could exploit their potential here in the county, and they had to leave, or their husbands had to leave. They had to go where the money was. So we've had it tough. You know, Ashe County, from about 1900 to probably 80, the population was stagnant. We had about 18 or 20,000 people in Ashe County, and that was it. And every year it was the same thing. We'd have a pretty good birth rate. They were leaving out of the county. And that's happened since, well, until the last 10 or 15 years it happened. But now here, recently we're having, some things are looking pretty optimistic around here. And one thing is, we have a lovely county here, beautiful scenery, and we have some advantages now they no longer have in the cities. One thing we have here, and we're having an influx of people coming from Ohio, New Jersey, Florida, and everywhere else. They're coming in here. One reason, you wouldn't believe it, but is a school system. Now, our school system is not the best system you'll find, but it's a fairly good school system. But the great advantage of the school system is
we don't have as much drugs here as they do other places. And so far, we've had a very good sheriff. We've had good sheriffs that have done pretty well in holding this drug thing down. And I talked to an assistant principal at one of our schools the other day, one of our high schools, and I asked her about the drug problem. She said there was only one or two in school that she ever thought they had any drug. In other words, it's not a serious thing here. Well, if you're raising children in Miami, I was down there the other day, we saw what was going on down there, and you would not believe it. But if you were sending your little 10-year-old daughter to school in Miami and you saw her and you had a chance to send her up here, you'd naturally want to come up here. So they are coming in here. A lot of people are coming in this way. And we're having a lot of, now, since we were kids, since you were kids, we didn't have much of a road system here. The roads have improved greatly. You've got not the best roads in the world, but the roads are fairly good. Everybody has 3 or 4 cars. We've got 3 or 4 children, you know, that's the children 16. So the cars are all over the road. People are getting along here pretty well, but we've had a few things in the last 6 or 8 years that are very good in Ashe County. We first built the hospital, and you remember, Catherine, all of us put in money in Rexford when we all put in money from $500 to $2,000 a piece, and I happened to build this hospital. The hospital has become a pretty effective place. It's a pretty good hospital, and right now they've got some very capable doctors there. And a great thing that happened to us about, probably just in the recent year or two, we had a young man that was raised on the river, went to the University of West Virginia, I think he took his medical degree there and became a fine doctor, Dr. Calhoun. He came from up on the river. He came here and established himself here. He took the place of Roy Freeman when Dr. Roy Freeman retired. And he had the idea to come over near the hospital and build a complex there. They call it the Medical Associates?
Ashe Medical Associates.
Ashe Medical what?
Ashe Medical Associates.
Ashe Medical Associates. He comes here, builds a fine building up next to the hospital with 6 or 8 rooms there. He's got 3 or 4 doctors helping him, and it's a very fine medical building. A very fine, it's where it probably cost him $250,000 more to build, right next to the hospital. And you have real good service there, and you have real capable doctors. Then about a year ago, we had finished here the finest nursing home I've ever seen. How many in here have been in our nursing home? Don't you think it is, Paul? It's a very fine. Now, I know I had experience with this because my mother, we got to the point we had to put her for about 6 or 8 months into a nursing home. I've been up there, and it's much finer than the one we had, and it's the finest one I've seen. And we've got a real medical complex up here you wouldn't believe. It's just nice. It's just great. And another thing, we've had a lot of people come to Ashe County, and you would not believe it, but up in Big Springs, up in the White Top country, up in the Flatwoods country, you've got people who've gone up there and built $400,000 homes. So things are looking better for us in Ashe County. Now we are trying to build some better schools here, so they have proposed a bond issue of $22 million, which we're voting on. I believe it vote on today, isn't that right? And anyway, it's right here. They're voting on a bond issue of $22 million. They want to build one big school over at the Career Center, including Ashe Central and Beaver Creek. They want one school there, and they're going to increase the size of the school at New River. So we're trying to get a better school system here. Now, as I said, our school system's not bad. It's a good school system for its size, and we have as dedicated teachers here as I know. I know a lot of them, and they're as good as you find. And we have some outstanding students that have come from Ashe County you would not believe. I know a boy from up on the river made a 4.0 at State College. He graduated a couple of years ago from up on the river. And in fact, I have the privilege of having a granddaughter, Carolina's getting her master's degree now, and she was a top student in her school, speech communications. And she's been working in Carolina, getting her master's degree, been teaching down there. And we have some outstanding students. If you'll notice, Rexford, intelligence is not sectional. You may find the most intelligent man in the county living on White Top or up on Horse Creek or in West Jefferson or wherever. And things are looking better. And we hope, with the improvement of our school system, that we'll be able to offer our students a broader curriculum and that they may take more mathematics, more science, more foreign languages. And today, ladies and gentlemen, if you've got children and if they don't know mathematics, they don't know anything about computers, they've got to have science and mathematics as well as their English. If you don't have it, you're not going to have any effective, you will not do well in any business, because you can't be effective unless you've got the background. And we're trying very hard for that. So Ashe County is looking better, and we just hope, and I hope. I did the same thing as you did. I was out of the county. Ed and I came back here in 1945. Wasn't that right?
Right.
And we've been here since, but I was out of this county for years and years. I finished the University of North Carolina, had the magnificent salary of $80 a month. Then I became a superintendent of schools of Ashe County, and I had the tremendous salary of $150 a month. And we started out teaching school and had to do something else. Now our teachers, thank God, are being paid not nearly what they're worth, but they're getting paid better. The average school teacher in Ashe County is probably making about, I'd say about $22,000 a year around that. Some of them are making more, some of them a little bit less. But they're making a living, and it's much better than it used to be. But with our climate, and with our beautiful mountains, and with our good people, and with our, I guess, if the truth were known, that Ashe County probably has about the least crime of any county in the state for its people. I don't know that, but I would guess that's true. We don't have any great amount of crime here. Occasionally we have some crime. I know I was going through Letcher County, Kentucky a few years ago. I stopped at a department store way out in the country, and I talked to Mr. Jones, who ran it, and I know, you know, Eastern Kentucky is not the sweetest place in the world. I mean, it's a lovely place, and the people are great, but they're pretty rough. And I asked Mr. Jones, I said, Mr. Jones, I've been through this county a lot, and I hear right smart of fighting and having a lot of trouble. Always says, Mr. Miller, he said, it's almost over. He says, we don't have any trouble now. This was in July. He says, you know, in this little county here, up until now, we haven't had but 15 murders this year. And we have I think we're low on crime. We're strong on schools, and the friendliest people, and I hope personally that all of you can come back and enjoy some of the things we're building. And among those things would be the new golf course down here. It's about a $15 million golf course that's being built. They're selling lots. They've already sold over 50 lots at $58,500 a lot. And they're going strong, and I think within 2 years it'll be open for business. And I'll tell you, I've been on a lot of golf. I don't play golf, but I've been on a lot of golf courses. It's the prettiest one I've ever seen. If you get around on that ridge looking down into the Calvert Farm, it's the prettiest spot you ever saw in your life. So, with the golf courses, schools, good roads, good people, you people come on back to Ashe County.
Thank you. Anybody have a question you want to ask? We have a little business we
I
need
had
to-
a question.
Yes.
We were driving around, we saw something about a school or something for the performing arts. What is that?
Well, we're building a building, or we're trying to. We started this building with the conception of building for the performing arts, a building with about $750,000. Before we got through with it, it's $1,400,000. We finally got enough money to build a foundation. Now we're wondering where the rest of the money is coming from, whether there's any grants we can get. But now it's right close to my home, so you know I'm for it. I'd like to have a beautiful performing arts right down there next door. But we've got it started. God help us, maybe we can finish it. We hope so. But it's a great project if it can be finished. And another thing we have here, which we didn't have when all of us were in school, we have an Ashe County library too. And it's a pretty effective library. It's pretty good. And we feel like we're doing pretty well. And our population's growing. We have now, I didn't tell you about that, but while we had 20,000 people for years and years, now we've got about 22 or 3,000. And they're coming in every day and buying homes, permanent homes, building permanent homes here too.
Any other questions? Okay. We have some things that we need to kind of look after. Teeny asked me to do it. Now, I suggested, wrote in a letter, one of the letters I wrote you, that Everett had suggested some time ago that we meet more often than every 5 years. So I think we ought to decide whether we're going to meet again, try to meet again 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, whatever. And as Catherine said to me over the telephone when I was talking to her, and I said, when would you prefer that we meet? Catherine said, well, we're all retired, so it doesn't make any difference to me. So, well, that's true, I take it, most of us, but we do have different things that we have. So let's bounce this ball around a little bit. As far as I'm personally concerned, I have no strong feelings. I'm enjoying Everett's suggestion there. Since we met last time, Edson Lawrence has gone from us. And none of us know, well, all of us have. I'm going to shut up on that subject.
Wait 5 years when many of us might not be able to get
Might not be
here.
able to make it. So what is the feeling of the group and
Wheelchairs
what would you
or
like to do?
Even the first year, we're probably gonna be 5 years old.
It's possible. It's possible. Everett, you made the suggestion. What is your suggestion?
Well, I'm situated a little bit differently. Been some of you pretty good ways out of town. Maybe every couple of years or 3 years, you're outside, maybe every 2 years. Now, my Air Force squadron that was in World War II. We have a reunion every 2 years, which is all over the United States. Chicago, Denver, and Phoenix, and places all around. And an awful lot of the boys get those meetings. So, like you said, when you're retired, right, it kind of makes things a lot easier. That you come up with a lot of grandchildren that you have to live with. But we're just across the mountain and we can make it. We're over here about once a month anyway.
We're about a couple hundred miles away. With our health, we'll be all right. What about you're a little farther away.
I'm a little farther, but I could make it whatever. It seems to me like that we're not getting any younger, and maybe every 2 years. About every 2 years.
Marcus, you're the homeboy.
I'll be here waiting.
You'll be here waiting. All right. George, Meg.
Oh, that's fine with me.
Ken?
Fine with me.
I think we should always come back and stay.
It's nice of you to say that. We appreciate that.
Have to increase the population. A little more wanted added.
At our age,
Not for me.
Your daughter's in Abington, so you should get up.
I think it's nice for her to come with.
I think it
It's
is.
nice last
I think
time.
it's nice my sisters can
And for
Sure
your
is.
2 sisters to come with you. I don't think I should be.
Well, they were, as they said,
Don't say it. Well, I get the feeling that every 2 years is what you would like. All right. You want to put it to a formal vote? I see no point in it.
No,
Everybody's
it's-
expressed themselves. All right, now, this next question that I think we need to is shall we meet around the anniversary of our graduation, which is what we're doing. We were fortunate 5 years ago, the most unusual situation that I've ever heard of. We met exactly 50 years to the day of the week, the day of the month, the hour of the day. In 1985. We were here yakking about the things that had gone on 50 years to the very hour. But this time, because of the calendar, it didn't cooperate. today we are really 50 years later, 55 years later, we are the class face of the world. We faced, well, we could talk about that. Or do you want to meet some other time, or with the group that meets annually the second weekend in September? I've never met with that
I
group.
was wondering if we ever have.
I've never met with that group. In fact, it was meeting for some time before I ever knew they were meeting.
Yeah, I've met with them. I like to come when I
You
can.
have?
I did get to come last
I
year.
had a letter from someone named Ruth, is it
Yeah.
See, and every class that, every person who's ever graduated from West Jefferson before it was consolidated. Is that who meets every fall?
They meet the second weekend in September, I understand.
And this class has not.
Well, I was the only one to
And
represent
Tina-
35. They have each one, tell what year, and I was the only one.
What, this past year? I didn't make it
I
past a couple
wondered where
years.
you were.
Yeah, but I generally make it.
That sounds interesting. They meet every year. I
But-
enjoy
Well, since
it.
we're so few.
Yeah, I think we'd lose something if we try to combine this with.
All right, Everett has expressed an opinion, and I believe, just the way I sense things, that this is the feeling that we would lose something if we tried to combine that and let each one of us meet with that on our own individual basis if we want to. How many of you, we will do this kind of as a vote sort of thing, how many of you would prefer meeting as we are doing now, every other year, on the anniversary date, as close to it as we can, of our graduation? Let's see your hands.
Suits me.
Well, I believe that's what we are interested in. Now, that will be the closest time we can. You like Friday? I think Friday evening's a good time personally. But whatever you think. But that would mean we would be meeting at this time. Incidentally, I don't know if you folks realize, but we got just ahead of the summer rates on the motel. Those are who are. We got just ahead of them. Okay, this meets the anniversary of our graduation. Now the next thing, I'm not sure I can read my own writing. All right, the next thing is tomorrow. Now, 5 years ago we met, what time, at lunchtime on Saturday in the group office. Well, all of us about it. Now, I've put down here again a choice. Do you want to meet for breakfast, for brunch, for lunch, or not at all tomorrow? And if so, we will talk about whether here or somebody suggested over at the steakhouse. What would you like to do?
That'd have to be for lunch,
That would-
steakhouse, wouldn't it?
I don't know. Any of you, do you know they serve breakfast over there?
No,
They don't. They don't serve breakfast.
Don't serve breakfast at the steakhouse.
No.
Have
That
to
would
be for
have
lunch.
to be
Well, they serve breakfast at Greenfield.
Yeah, Greenfield, and that Lee's restaurant out
Out
top
on
of
the
Blue
mountain.
Ridge, it's very good breakfast.
Now, I throw it open for you and whatever. Now, some are planning to do some traveling tomorrow. I don't know how many.
We will be leaving early. I'd love to meet for breakfast, but if we don't, I mean, we can't meet any later.
How many?
Good shot, isn't it?
What time would you say breakfast? 8 o'clock?
That's fine.
How many of you would like to meet for breakfast in the morning? Let's see your hand. I fail to get a
Get
count.
up at 8 o'clock. I never get up that early.
Let's see how many
I'm
early.
not even awake.
1, 2. Well, why don't we simply say that those of us who can will meet here, would you say 8:30? That sounds good. 8:30 for breakfast and meet here and meet here at 8:30. Then we won't have any travel to do before checking out or that sort of thing. Or if you want to go out to Lee's or somewhere, that's all right. It's close here. Breakfast. That suits most of us. I think it suits me because I have to go home tomorrow. I am going to be getting home in time to go to another meeting tomorrow night that I'm not sure I want to go to, and I'll be embarrassed if I don't. Now, the other thing that I am bringing before you for a moment for a decision, the centerpiece that we have, what to do with it. I'm going to throw out two things here, and some of the rest of you may have something else that you'd like to do. The roses, our class flowers, the white rose, if you remember. And these are in memory of the 4 class members who have gone from us, and the 2 faculty members. I wish we had a little more time to talk about it. I'd like for Paul and everything, myself and some of the others, who knew Edison Lawrence, to speak a word about him. And of course, some of you in the class, they've been Mr. Miller speak of John Donnelly. Maybe we can for just a word, but no long speeches on the part of any of us. Now, I at first thought after we were through with this year, take it to the church in Ball Mountain where Edison attended, but he never was a member of that. Then let them use it over the weekend and let it go to his youngest brother, Dean. They grew up together, and so on and so last. Then I thought of something else, and Everett, I don't want to put you and the dude on the spot at all, but today is the birthday of their youngest son, who has been handicapped from his very beginning. And if this could be taken care of, to simply let them hold it for him. So I throw it out to you. Maybe some of you have something else you'd like to sit down. I was terrible silence.
Church.
Whose son is him?
Everett. Eric. You're not going home until when?
No, we're not going home.
Now, if somebody has some other idea, something we would like to do about that. What's the feeling? How many of you would like for it to go to the church? Let's see your hands.
That's fine, that's fine.
Well, okay.
It's not going to
So I'll try to get it to you
I appreciate it.
either tonight or in the morning. All right, anything else? That's all I jumped in.
Yes, so far Rexwood has gone to all the expense for this
I
reunion.
was thinking about that.
And paid for the flowers and all the postage and things that he's done in making the calls. And I think that we should have an offering to reimburse him for the expense because he's had most of the work.
Well, I appreciate that, and that's up to you. But the cost, the expense, and so on is not very much. This is the biggest expense. In fact, it's about twice the rest of the expense as far as I can tell. I've had an interesting experience with that. Now, the postage and telephone calls, now, some of my telephone bill hasn't come in for some of them, so I'll take care of that part of it. So you just don't bother about that if you want to take care of it. But about $10 will take care of, I think, everything. The copies that you got of the letters, I may have myself in a bind over that. That's right cute. I went to a place in Wake Forest and asked him to copy, and he wouldn't charge me anything for copying either one. And remember copying them for me 5 years ago when we were at it. He didn't charge me then either. Where I may have myself in a bind, I need to buy some letter aids. I have to go and buy them from him. So that's that.
Letterhead's like $40.
Something like that. Something like that. That's about what he quoted for them.
That's right.
A ream of letterheads is about $40.
$40.
Depending on the quality of paper you get.
Right.
And the flowers were,
The flowers for $27 and $10 to cover all of the rest of them. Incidentally, the cards that you got, that you mailed back, no, you didn't. Some of them did, some of them didn't.
I did.
Some of, I think most of this group did. But those cards were left over from 1985. I don't use cards. Well, that takes care of it. You can see Tina. Are you ready to close things up?
as far as I know, I don't know anything else. I sure am glad.
I don't know how you do it with, maybe a little more publicity or put a little more pressure on people or something. You know, we don't have just not nearly as many people as we had 5 years ago. And I'm sure it's a hardship on some that are not here. If we could put some pressure on
Maybe if we can catch it
advertising or something
a little earlier or something.
to try to make it interesting enough that they would show up. If I could provide some of these photos, I'd be glad to
That's
do
the
that.
one.
The persons who are not here
Send to
are either like some of the rest of us, they're grandparents and have grandchildren that they have to look after, or they, just like all of us are going to sooner or later be just not able to visit. And that was what it was. Incidentally, Lucille reminded me, our room is 121, which is next door. And after we kind of break up here, any of you come down, would be delighted to come down here. Yeah, as long as you want to.
We've got a couch and a bed that can sit all the way around and about 2 little chairs, so we've got plenty of room. And the floor.
Pretty good
Floor,
shape.
so.
Well, if we are coming down right to the close of anything formal, I know many of you have been interested in different things. I couldn't bring myself to bring anything that I would call a meditation as we did 5 years ago without maybe repeating myself, and I do want to repeat the prayer with which I closed last time from John Donne. How many of you remember this from William Ellery Channing entitled My Symphony? Remember that? I ran into it many years ago and I have enjoyed it a lot. Let me give you that, and this will be as much as I want to give in the way of meditation. And we'll dedicate it along with the centerpiece to the memory of those who are gone, and also for our own meditation or thoughts as we move along. To live content with small means, to seek elegance rather than luxury, and refinement rather than fashion, to be worthy, not respectable, and wealthy, not rich, to study hard, think quietly, talk gently, act frankly, to listen to stars and birds, to babes and sages with open heart, to bear all cheerfully, do all bravely, await occasions, hurry never. In a word, to let the spiritual, unbidden and unconscious, grow up through the common. This is my symphony, William Ellery Channing. And to take the rest of you back, I've got this out of our old 7th grade studies in reading. I know some of you remember that. I simply kept the book. And here is the prayer with which I closed 5 years ago, and I love it. From John Donne, 1752 to 1631. Bring us, O Lord, at our last awakening into the house and gate of heaven, to enter into that gate and dwell in that house, where there shall be no darkness nor dazzling, but one equal light, no noise nor silence, but one equal music, no fears nor hopes, but one equal possession, no ends or beginnings, but one equal eternity, the habitations of thy glory and dominion, world without end. Thank you so much.